Fine, we are going to start with this particular lecture. In this today's session, what we are going to study is very important part of software engineering. Actually, the baseline, I would say that the topic for today's lecture is software development lifecycle. In short, it is also called as SDLC. And I would say that the complete software engineering process is SDLC. Whatever we are defining the principles, the methods, the tools, and the technology for software engineering, we are going to use all these in development of the software, right? And now here we are going to understand the life cycle of software development. We all are aware what is life cycle. Every product has a life cycle. Life cycle starts from the idea where the need of software develops in the mind of a human being. From there till it gets obsolete, this complete part is called as the life cycle, right? So let's start up with this. What is basically software development life cycle? I have told you in simple form, and now I'm just going to define it in the technical form, that is software development life cycle. In short, SDLC is a well-defined, structured sequence of stages in software engineering to develop the intended software product. That means whatever software we want to develop, right? We are going to use a well-defined and structured sequence of steps or series of steps or sequence of stages. That particular from stage one, that is the idea generation, till the last stage, that is software getting obsolete and again getting updated. That particular is called as the software development life cycle. Now here, whatever software we are going to develop, that software should work efficiently. It should meet the requirements of the customer or the end user. So to develop this particular efficient software product, we need to follow certain series of steps which are defined in software engineering. That is called as SDLC, right? Now, when we talk about the different stages of software, technically I have defined all these stages one by one, but in different books, in different articles, you can find that there are the number of stages in the SDLC or the number of steps in the SDLC can be this number, or they can integrate, like communication and requirement gathering can be one step. But here I have defined communication as different step and requirement gathering as different step, right? Integration and implementation can be stated at one step in different books. I have split it out it in two, right? So this particular steps can be 5, can be in detail, but they have the same agenda. So nothing is wrong with the number of steps, but the point is all steps should be included, right? So let's start with this. SDLC has these particular steps, starting up with the communication, second requirement gathering, third feasibility study, fourth analysis, then design, coding, testing, integration, implementation, operation and maintenance, and disposition, right? In general, you must have heard about requirement gathering, analysis, design, coding, testing, and implementation. But here this is in detail, right? So one by one, we are going to understand what a specific task is done in a particular stage. what set of activities are required to be completed in a specific stage, right? So starting up with the first one, that is the communication, right? As soon as the idea is emerged in the person's mind, in the mind of human being, that particular idea comes as a solution to a problem, right? Whenever the idea of software comes, that comes from a problem statement. You all must have heard of the term problem statement. Now, the solution for this problem statement is what? Is the idea of generation of software. Automated solution actually, right? Not only the solution, but the automated solution for a specific problem statement is what? Is the idea we need to have for the software. So from here, this particular is coming. So as soon as the idea is emerged in the person's mind as a solution to a specific problem, it needs to be communicated to the service providing organization so that that particular software can be developed. So this is the first step where the user, when I say user, every time the user can be defined as client, first thing, or it can be defined as the customer technically, or it can be the end user, right? The client and customer as one and the same thing. Exactly, they can be replaced, but end user means the person who is going to use this software, who is going to operate this software, that is the end user. Not every time the customer is the end user. There can be difference between the customer and the end user. So where the user initiates the request for a desired software product, so the request is given to the organization service provider so that they can define or develop the software. He contacts his service provider and tries to negotiate the terms. Now when I say negotiate the terms, I mean to say in three forms. Firstly, for the form of cost, what will be the cost of the product, how much they can invest, what budget do they have. Second thing, the timeline, how much time they are giving you to develop that software, and the quality. What the quality means? Quality means all the functionalities which are required by the customer or the end user, right? He submits his request to the service providing organization in writing. Now the formal document is prepared and that is being provided to the service provider, right? So this is the first step called as the communication. Second step is requirement gathering. Now requirement gathering means what? Whenever the request is given to the service provider in written, technically, or I would say practically, all the requirements are not stated by the customer directly to the service providers or to the development team. The development team or the manager has to put on their efforts so that they can gather all the requirements of the software. That means, what is the requirement means? What does the end user wants from the software? What all functionalities should the software provide, right? So that is what the requirement is. Now, the end user are not actually very clear with all the requirements. So extra efforts are needed to be put by the manager and the team. So how do they gather these requirements? They gather this particular requirement with many different techniques, with the help of many different techniques, right? Team holds discussions with various stakeholders. Now, what do you mean by stakeholders out here? Stakeholder means the customers, the end users who are going to, get the profit regarding the software from problem domain, and tries to bring out as much information as possible in their requirements, right? The requirements are contemplated and segregated into user requirements, system requirements, and functional requirements. These requirements are segregated, or I would say bifurcated, in three different types of requirements: the user requirements, the system requirements, and the functional requirements. Now, we are going to work on detail in coming lectures what system requirement means, what user requirement and functional requirement means. The basic practices that are needed for gathering the requirement information is what? They are using the techniques such as conducting interviews with the users and the developers. They need to refer to the database or collecting answers from the questionnaires. You must have heard of surveys, questionnaires, so that you can get maximum information from the stakeholders. And if you can get the actual requirement regarding the software, you can give the software as the best software, because that will fulfill all the requirements of the user, right? So this particular part is very, very important when you talk about SDLC, because this is the, you can say the foundation. Requirements are termed to be as the foundation for the requirement, for the software to be developed, right? Third step is called as the feasibility study. Now, when I talk about feasibility study, the name itself says that I'm going to analyze whether the development of this particular software is feasible or not, whether it is worth developing the software according to the cost, according to the time, and according to the technology or not. That have to be decided by the team. So after gathering all the requirements, the team comes up with a rough plan of software process. The team analyzes if software can be made to fulfill all the requirements of the user. It is find out if the project is, now just remember these three terms: financially, practically, and technologically feasible. Financially, economic feasibility; practically, that means operational feasibility; and technology means technical feasibility for the organization to take up. If this particular passes in all these three feasibility tests, only then this software is taken up. Else, it is negotiated on the terms of whatever point it fails. If it fails according to the financial or economic feasibility, then the cost is going to be bargained, right? And so on and so forth. Fourth step says what? Fourth step defines the system analysis. Now, here, when I talk about feasibility study, after conducting the complete feasibility study and getting the report, what it is going to decide a roadmap of their plan and going to bring up a suitable model for the software project. Now, system analysis includes what? Understanding of software product limitations, very important. Learning systems related to problems or changes to be done in existing systems. Identifying and addressing the impact of project on organization and personnel. Now, there can be two categories. There can be if a software is going to be developed from scratch. That means it is a completely new problem statement and new solution. Or else there can be a category when we are going to update a existing software. That means existing software needs to be changed or updated. So we are going to analyze according to that. The project team analyzes the scope of the project and the plans the schedule and resources accordingly. That means whatever the scope of the project is, according to that, the schedule and the resources need to be planned by the team. So this is system analysis. Now we come to the fifth step. That is, again, you must have heard of this particular step, and we have studied this step in object oriented, that is about the use cases. So use cases are kind of the output of software design. Whatever knowledge we have gained in the requirements, we are going to analyze it and design the product according to that. That means we're going to put up a plan according to the requirements, and that particular layout of the software is called as the design. Now the input for this particular software design is the information gathered. This is the input for the software design. The output for the software design is we should get two designs. One is called as the logical design and the other one is called as the physical design. We are going to work on with the logical design, as software is a logical entity. So what we get, the input for software design is all the information that is gathered, and the output is the logical design. That is different type of use cases, different type of metadata, data dictionaries, data flow diagrams, pseudocodes, and so many more. These are the things which are going to be the output of software design, right? Such as class diagram, object diagram, component diagram, deployment diagram. All these are what? These are the software designs. Now, next step, we move to the coding part, which you all are well aware of. And sometimes people, when think of software development, thinks only about the code. They just forget about the feasibility study. They forget about analysis. They forget about design. They forget about testing. They only remember the coding. But that's not true. Coding is an important part of software development, but not the only part, right? So this particular step is called as the programming phase. Whatever the software design is stated in terms of the software, that particular is converted into code with the help of a suitable programming language. That means the algo, we can say maybe the algo can be converted into the code with the help of a specific programming language that would be suitable for the software. It can be C, it can be C++, it can be Python, it can be any language, right? Now, next is the sixth stage, that is called as the testing. Actually, testing is the sixth phase that comes after coding, but it starts from the very point of time the SDLC starts. So testing is not only done after the coding. Practically, it is done throughout the SDLC. So software testing is done while coding by the developers, and thorough testing is conducted by testing experts at various levels of code: module testing or unit testing, program testing, product testing, in-house testing the product at user end, etc., etc. So I'm not going to move in detail regarding the what is unit testing, what is program, product, what is in-house, what is testing of beta testing, alpha testing. That we are going to study in detail when the topic comes. So why we are testing? Because as early as we discover the errors, we are going to get the reliable software. So that is the agenda of testing, to discover maximum errors and at the early stage. Seventh point or seventh stage states the integration. Now you can see, or sometimes in some places you can see integration and implementation is coming at one step, but I have split it out here in two. So integration is what? When the software need to be integrated with the libraries, database, and other programs. That is called as the integration process. So this stage of SDLC is involved in the integration of software with outer world entities. Now, when we talk about implementation, implementation is what? Implementation is installing the software at the user site or user machine. That means getting up with the hardware also, getting installed with the hardware. So that particular is called as the implementation. At times, software needs post-installation configurations at user end. Software is tested for portability, adaptability, integration related issues, are solved during implementation. So you can just see it's not, the testing is not getting completed in the testing phase only. It is coming in the implementation phase also. It is, the software needs to be tested at the implementation site also, where we are going to test the portability, adaptability, and other integrated related issues. Now, next point or stage comes when we define the operation and maintenance. Operation and maintenance can be sometimes defined only as the maintenance. Here, what we are going to do, we are going to define the phase where the software operation is confirmed and it is providing a efficient and less error software. And that means less error are provided in this particular software operation and the software operates efficiently. Sometimes users are trained and documents are provided, manuals are provided to the software users. Sometimes the training is provided to the users so that they can use this particular software efficiently. The software is maintained by updating the code according to the changes taking place in user and environment or technology. So we can say this particular phase, maintenance phase, goes on till the software gets obsolete, right? We have defined it here. This phase may face challenges from hidden bugs and real world unidentified problems. So here there can be problems which were not foreseen at the earlier stage of the software. So these particular problems are going to be worked out. And the last stage is called as the disposition stage. Now, what is the disposition? Disposition is as the software works on with the change in the technology, with the change in the user requirements. As the time passes on, the software may decline. The performance of the software may decline at the performance front. So we call it as the software gets obsolete. Now, we have seen in these characteristics of software that software never, software never gets wear out. It gets obsolete. So here it comes. If it gets obsolete, it needs to be upgraded. So hence a pressing need to eliminate a major portion of the system arises. At this point of time, the data is archived, software components are required, you close down the system, planning of disposition activity and terminating the system is taken place. And sometimes there are the possibilities that this particular system can be updated with fewer changes or sometimes with major changes and gets into the market again. So this is the complete life cycle of the software. I hope this is clear to all. Thank you very much.